Hi guys, how are you doing? Today I am going to show you how to make your own budget using Spreadsheet on Google. Please excuse my appearance and my voice. I am slightly sick. I'm not quite sure. I'm feeling okay. It's just mostly my voice, and I'm feeling really hot. So we'll just see. Here's to praying, hoping that I do not get sick. So this that I'm going to show you today is just so wonderful. I did a budget using pen and paper for a year or two, maybe longer than that, and it works fine, but this takes so much of the work out of it and does a lot for you. The model that I followed was the one by Gazelle Intense. I did make a few changes to fit my lifestyle on my budget, but shout out to them if you would like to check out their page. So let's just go ahead and get started. Okay, so one of the biggest changes between my budget and Gazelle Intense is theirs is on a spreadsheet. I believe they just leave on their computer. Mine is obviously through a computer, but I use it on Google Drive. So let's talk about that. What you could do is just go down to where it says Google Chrome. And when it pops up, you'll have your main page. And if you have Google Chrome, it's awesome. If you have Firefox or anything else, it'll still work. But as soon as you get to Google, you want to go to Google Drive. So basically, if you have Google Chrome, if you see where my mouse is right now, you can click on Apps, and it'll actually pull up Google Drive. You'll see it. It also probably has a spreadsheet on there. But as soon as you go to Apps and click on Google Drive, it will take you to your drive. And what you can do is if you want to create a spreadsheet in here, you can go up to where it says New. It has the options right down here, and we're going to look at Google Slides. And if you go over to the little arrow right here, it says Blank Spreadsheet or From Template. You would click on Blank, which I have already pulled up over here and started one already. So this is a basic outline of how I do my budget, or how I've created it monthly. Now mine I did actually create on Excel, like Word Excel, through my computer, and then uploaded it to Google Drive, which is awesome because it's a lot easier for me to fit a lot of cells in there. You could totally do that and do everything I'm showing you right now in Spreadsheet on that Excel, and it will work the exact same. You could do it like I did and make it on Word Excel and upload it to Google Drive, and yet again, it's exactly the same. It'll upload it and won't change a thing. So it works either way. I'm just going to show you how to do it on here today. So I did one right here, just a play one starting in January. So that's what we're going to do. So step one is we are going to put in all of the categories that we need. So first, we're not touching any numbers. We're just going through and laying out everything you need for your budget. So first things first, I like to label mine by each month. We did January right there. So right here, I'm going to type up February. Underneath February, I'm going to do our first category. So our first category is going to be income, any money you bring in. Okay, so for example, in my real budget, my husband and I have usually around 4 sources of income. So I'm going to put in income 1, income 2, income 3, and income 4. Okay? Underneath, I'm going to put the total over here. And we've got our first category. Now here's the problem with this. The first time I made a budget, I did this where I put income right next to income. But the problem is I didn't have any room for fields, and I really wanted the month, as you can see over here, to be nice and big. So this is what you can do. We're going to stagger everything down by one cell that we just put in, the incomes and the total. That way right here next to where it says income, we can have our columns, which are going to include the source of either the income or the bill, so what you were paying or where the money came from. Next to that, you're going to put what you budgeted for that month, the actual amount that it was, and then next to that, you're going to put payment. And a lot of people I know, for example, my husband, the first time I did this was like, why do you have an actual and a payment? This is why, okay? For example, I teach lessons as a part of an extra income. What happens is I have what I budgeted for income for lessons that month, and what it actually ended up being, which is very nice. But I'm not going to put in the payment for it until it's actually been paid or I've actually been paid for it. So for example, when my teaching income comes in, I have a budget for it, what it actually was, and I don't put in that amount of money in the payment section until I've actually been paid for it. So it also kind of works like a checklist telling you when things have been paid and also when you've been paid. So that's the point of the payment category. Okay, so we've got our categories, we've got our income section and the total for it. So right now it's kind of just like a mess, in my opinion. It's hard to read. This, I'm going to show you how to get to this, okay? So let's talk about how to take what you've written and make it look a little more organized, okay? It's just a few little tips and tricks. Number one, I want the month to cover the entire top all the way to the end. So these are how many fields I'm using, how many columns. And all I'm going to do is highlight where February's in. And you're going to go up here to the top, and there's all these different things you can do. They've got things you can do with the font. They've got colors you can fill in the background. You can do the borders, which we will talk about. What I want you to do is go to Merge Cells. I'll be right there. And if you go to the down arrow, it'll give you merge types. You just want to click the general merge cells, okay? And what it's going to do is get rid of all these little lines and leave you with one giant box. Do you see that? Now once you do that, just go right to the right of that, and it's going to say horizontal align. I want you to go to the down arrow, and they've got left, center, and right. I want you to click center. Okay, so now February is nice and big and in the middle, and then we're going to move down and do the same type of thing with the income section. So right now you can see over here in January, I've got it nice and pretty in the center of this big box. I want it to look like that over here because it's easy to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on income, and I'm going to pull it all the way down through my incomes up to where it says total. I'm going to go back to merge cells and click it. Now it's one big box. However, income's in the very bottom. So what I'm going to do is go to the right, and I'm going to align it in the center. And then to the right of that, it's got vertical alignments, which means if it's going to be in the bottom, top, or middle of the box. We're going to click on the arrow, and they've got top, middle, and bottom. We're going to do middle. Look how nice that looks. So much better, right? Okay. So now I'm going to do the same thing with total. I'm just going to merge the cells and align it in the center. And it looks already a whole lot better, okay? It's easier to read. I can obviously tell where the income stuff is, and it's not all broken up. But I also like to color code things because that's just me. I like visually being able to see it look clean. So I'm going to make my income section green because money. So right here, I'm going to go with a really light shade of green. And then right here, I'm also going to go ahead and just color code these just because I think it looks better to have January and February be the only thing white at the very top. So I'm going to go ahead. This is the filling the background, this little paint bucket. And yet again, that light green. And then right here is going to be the total section for all my income. And I'm going to also make it green. But as you can see, I like it a little darker. I like it to stand out a little bit more. So that's what I'm going to do. And there we go. Now, final thing, I don't think this black shows up very well when I have these darker colors, so you can also change the font color or the text color right here. And instead of it being black, I'm just going to go all the way over to white, and I think it shows up better. Okay, so that is how you create a field, and we're going to continue to do the next thing, or the same thing for all the other fields below it. So right below here, as you can see over on January, I'm going to have bills. Okay, and the cool thing is, I think this says billless. Once you do this already in a month, all you have to do is copy and paste it. So for example, I've got all these right here. I'm just going to highlight them, copy and paste them. But these are just examples of bills you probably have. Your cell phone, energy, rent, internet, water, renter's insurance, lots of different bills. These are just a few that I know I have. And then yet again, you're going to have a total section below it. So I'm actually just going to highlight it. All you do is click and drag. I'm going to click Command C and then Command V to paste it down here. See? I'll show you another way you can do it without using the command button in a second. But there we go. I've got my total section in, and I don't have to do any of that merging again. Yay! But I am going to do it right here, and I am going to change this color. So right here where it says bills, I'm going to drag down. I'm going to click on merge cells, align it in the center, align it in the center, and then I'm going to pick our color. And it looks like for bills I went with blue, so we're going to stick with that. And then for the total section, I'm going to make it blue as well, because this is the total section just for bills. I'm just going to go with a darker shade of blue. Go with that one. Perfect. Okay, and then I'm just going to continue to go down and do this. The categories that we have are going to be income, bills, additional expenses, and that's things like gas, groceries, things like that, debt. And then once I copy and paste this and kind of speed through this, I'll talk to you about what I do for the total expenses this dark when you see down here in January. So let's go ahead and speed through. Okay, so now we're getting down to where this is basically, it almost looks black, where it says total expenses. Okay, the reason that this is in here, and I'm going to put it in over here, is because at the bottom of these fields, that should be your total expenses as far as living, bills, and all that good stuff. It's going to be the total expenses from bills, additional expenses, and your debt all together. Okay, so the total right here was just the total we have from bills. Total right here would just be the total we have from additional expenses, and then the total right here is just the total we'd have from debt. Those are different. It's just for those tiny categories. This is going to be the total for all of those put together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put total expenses, and we're going to make it super dark so it stands out. So that background color, I'm basically going to make it really dark blue. And then I am going to make the font white in this category so it stands out against that dark color. And I'm going to merge it across those two fields and center the text. All right, so now we've got our total expenses, and we're moving on to different categories. So the next one right here, some people may not have it in theirs. I think it's a wonderful idea. It's your sinking fund. So a sinking fund is basically money that you save up over a long period of time for things you know that are coming. And I'll give you a few examples of that. I typed in our sinking fund right here. I'm going to leave quite a few of these. I'm going to put the total for it here. And we're going to go ahead and make it look nice again. We're going to merge it, center it, center it. Same thing here. I'm going to merge, and I'm going to center. And then I'm going to give it a color. Let's do purple and purple. Okay. So now that I've gone ahead and created it and, laid out our basic outline for that section, I'm going to talk about things that you might have in your sinking fund. Thing in that sinking fund for us every year is Christmas. We save from the moment Christmas ends till that next year of Christmas. That way we have 12 months that we're planning on saving money for Christmas. We set a budget for it, how much we want to spend, how much we estimate we'll spend on each other, anything like that. So Christmas is a wonderful thing to save for and put in that sinking fund every month. Another thing, and we just take that money and transfer it to savings every month. That's something we pull out. We tell our money where to go, and that Christmas money for our sinking fund goes into our savings until we use it. Another thing that's great, my husband is graduating with his doctorate soon, and so we've been saving it for grad robes for a little over 6 or 7 months. Maybe it's been a year. Actually, I think I started saving for it last January. Grad robes, so I added that to this sinking fund, so it doesn't have to be necessarily something every year that you buy. Grad robes, I knew it was going to be a lot of money, and so I was like, let's add it to the sinking fund and start planning for that money now. Another thing we do our car insurance every 6 months. That's something that's in our sinking fund, and that's where these things can go. And sinking fund's a great thing. You can put stuff there for medical bills, oil changes, car expenses, things like that. I don't do those. I just kind of pull those out as additional expenses every month or monthly extras, which we're getting ready to talk about as far as oil changes and things go. But if that's something you want to put ahead, like to the side for all the time, then go for it. We're going to do another total expenses underneath that because that sinking fund will add to your expenses. It's not necessarily, a bill, but it's money you still have that you're saving. So it's not money you can use to put towards debt because you're putting it aside, basically. So we'll do another total expenses because it is going to pull away from what we made this month. And then we're going to add our new section, which is monthly expenses, which is what I was just talking about. I don't necessarily save for our oil changes all the time or things like that I know are coming, just because it's not as big of an expense and I know it's coming, so I might as well just pull it from monthly extras. Now this isn't money that I'm just like, oh, I'll go shopping and just throw it in monthly extras all the time. No, monthly extras are things that we needed that weren't budgeted for, and that I didn't put in a sinking fund for. An oil change, maybe we had to get a new tire or new tires, maybe we needed new brake pads, something like that, where I don't feel I have money built up in savings and things where that's money I could either pay for that month, it's not a huge expense, or I know it's covered. So that's where our monthly expenses go, or monthly extras. I guess I should put monthly extras. Yeah. So for those, yet again, we're just going to put it in here. I'm going to merge, center, center. Same thing here. I'm going to merge it. Center and center, and color code it just like all the others. Let's go with red this time, and red across here. Perfect. And I'm going to make sure that's in white because otherwise we will not be able to read it. Okay, there we go. All right, so we are to the bottom of the budget. So now this is the last text you need to enter. Okay, so we've got our total expenses at the end of this. I want the totals from those total expenses. So the absolute amount it cost us this month, money that was outgoing from our account. And so that is total monthly spent, or total monthly spend, however you want to say it. That's what I put it in as. So I'm actually going to merge across those two cells so it's nice and centered in this middle. And I'm going to make that super dark color again. And like I said, once you've made this, you can just copy and paste, but I kind of want to show you step by step and make it white. So there's total monthly spent, and then underneath I'm going to have a final section. As you can see over here in January, we're going to talk about that's the actual money I know I can spend on debt a month. It will give me the amount that I am able to spend left over from our account. It's so great. Makes my life so much easier now. So we're going to talk about that in a second. Let me color code this. We're going to make that in yellow because it's important. Nice and bright. Okay, so we are ready for step 2 when you're actually going to put in numbers. All right, so let's start up at the top. Okay, I'm going to show you something called auto sum, or doing a sum calculation. The great thing about using Excel is that it does the work for you as far as the numbers go. You're not sitting there with a piece of paper and a pen and a calculator going through this every time you do your budget. This does the work for me. I put in the figures and it does the math. So let me show you what I do. Okay, we're going to start in income. We are going to put in a few different sources of income. Let's say income 1 is 2,000, and 500, 500, and 1,000. So obviously I'm just making up some numbers. Whatever your numbers are, that's fine. And I don't like it just being numbers. I like to have it look like it's money, a little number sign. So I'm actually going to scroll all the way through and highlight all these fields where I know my numbers are going to go in there. And you can go up here to where it says format, number. Right now it's on automatic. I like it on accounting. It gives you a number sign over to the side, but it doesn't conflict with the numbers when you put them in. You see what I'm saying? So the number signs over here align to the left, and then the numbers are to the right. I just like that. So let me talk about sum. This thing is great. So right here in the field where it says total, I wanted to show me the total of these 4 incomes together in this cell. So what I'm going to do is this formula. You're going to put in equals sum. And this is going to come up right here. It says sum of a series of numbers and or cells. You'll want to click it. So as soon as you click it, it's going to come up like this with a little parentheses, and all you have to do is highlight, click and drag on the 4 cells you want the total to be from. Click return or enter, and it gives you the amount right there. And you can do this for all of them. Now, first off, I want all of these to be white text so they show up really well. There we go, much better. So let me give you an example. Let's say I had planned on 2,000, but I got really lucky that month somehow, and I got 2,500. Boom! Which shows up as the accounting numbers now because we highlighted all of those. And then the other ones were the same. The cool thing is once you put this in and you do the sum, it does the work for you and it shows the number that you actually have. So let's do an equal sum of these fields from the payment section, and let me show you what it's like when I put it in. So let's say I got paid on the 20th of this month. Pop it in, shows how much I've got right there, which is great because it'll show you how much you have at the moment, not how much you're going to have total by the end of the month, because if you're like me and you get paid at different times in the month, it's nice to see what you have when you have it, not the total amount that you'll have, you know, by the end of that budgeted month. So there's that. Then we put in the 500, and it does everything for you. It's just so much easier than sitting there with pen and paper and a calculator. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do equal sum in the total category of each of these things. Okay, so we just did the sum for income. Now I'm just going to do the totals for each of these bills. Okay, so I'm going to do equal sum. I'm going to highlight and drag all of these. Click enter. I'm going to do that in each section. There we go. Okay, so there you can see, and you know that it's in there now because you've got that number sign and that little dash showing that it's ready for numbers to be entered. Let's say your cell phone bill is $130, energy that month was $75, rent was $800, internet was $50, water was $50, renter's insurance was $15, and it'll give you the total right there. You would put in what you budget for a month, the actual amount that it ended up being, and then when you finally pay it, it should match every month. Your actual and your payment should match. So then you go through and put those all in. So I'm going to do that in each section. We'll do the same thing right here. You're going to do equal sum. We're going to do the total from these bills right here and put it in. And I'm just going to fast forward and do that for the rest of these. Okay guys, so I've gone through and I've done the sum for each of the tiny categories, and now we've gotten to our first total expenses. So this is where I want you to pay attention. These are going to be the total expenses from the bills category, the additional expenses, and your debt. Okay? It does not include income because income is things that are coming in, not expenses that are going out. So when we do this total, let me show you how I do it. Equals sum. You're going to click on the total from bills, put a comma. Total from additional expenses in the budget column, put a comma, and then the total from debt in the budget, and then you're going to click enter. What you put enter, it's going to give you the total expenses from each of those sections. So let me show you. I'm going to do that for each of these, and then I'll show you what it actually does. So that one, comma, comma, there. Okay, so let me show you what it does. Let's say for gas that month, I always try and budget around 100, grocery budget around 310, eat out for us is around 120, parking we budget 30, and then other we budget 50. So you see right here it changed it to 610. It also changed it down here because it's taking the total from each of those sections and then doing it here. It's wonderful. Oh my goodness. Let's say your auto is $250, first education, I don't know, $80. Second education is $100. And then you can see from the total expenses, it does it right there. So that's the great thing about the total expenses. You're doing the same auto sum, it's just you're doing it from the total fields. So down here, we're going to move on and do an auto sum for sinking fund for these cells. And then I'll put it in there, and you're going to do that in each of these other sections. Total expenses. Now, all I'm going to do is do an equal sum, and I'm going to do this total expenses thing. Just click on this one here. There's no reason to go through and redo all those. Just click on this total expenses, put a comma, and then add in the sinking fund, which is the new one you did. And click enter, and it should give you the new one. So for example, car insurance, let's say we put those in. You can see it'll change it right here. Okay, but this one is still the way it was because it's only showing the total expenses from these bills. This one is showing once you add in the sinking fund, because remember, sinking fund, we're not exactly paying for it. We still have that money, it's just we're moving it to savings. So I like to put an additional total expenses below it, because it's not like I'm paying it out to someone, it's still my money. So then we're going to scroll down and do the same thing here. Let's say an oil change came up and it cost $35. We do the sum here of anything that was done. And it'll show up there. Total monthly spent. What you want to do is you're going to do a sum of this total expense, okay, the final one that you did under the sinking fund, and then you're going to do the total from monthly extras as the second one. So you're going to do a comma and that one together, and then click enter. And it should give you, if you could see it in white, hold on one second, make sure that text is white. It should show you what the total amount should be. So it should be whatever this total expense was plus whatever was in here added together, and that's your total expenses for the month. Now obviously I don't have all my figures in here. When we do my budget breakdown every month, you can see what that gets equaled up to, but this is just to help you figure out how to make your own. And so that'll give you the total monthly spent. Okay, and we just did the budget column. The final is the best part, because that's where it shows me how much extra I can put to debt. So what we're going to do in here is I'm going to do equal sum again. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this amount of money, that I made for my income and click it. Okay? So that's been highlighted. And scroll down, you can see it. Ooh, ooh, there we go. Then I'm going to put a subtract sign, which is right next to the equal button. And I'm then going to click on total monthly spent that we had at the bottom. And then I'm going to click enter. It has given me how much money I have remaining from the income I brought in to how much money I actually spent. So if I made $4,000 that month and I spent $2,430, I have over $1,500 left to put towards debt. And this has shown me. By putting in this equal sum, it has shown me what I can do. Okay, so we're going to do it one more time. I'm going to show you. Okay, you're going to put in equal sum. You're going to click on your income total, which remember is more that we put in up here. You're going to scroll down. You've got that put in. Then you're going to put the minus sign, and that minus sign is just to the left of where the equal plus button is. Okay, then you're going to click on the total monthly spent, the last one you had, and you're going to click enter. And it's going to show you how much you can spend. Now we didn't put anything in this field, that's why it's showing $4,500. Ooh, I wish. But that's how it does it. The final section I'm going to show you is just some little things that I use personally, little helpful things to the side. So here are some useful things that I use. Okay, for example, I budget for groceries. I budget for groceries each week as well as for the month. So every week I go to the grocery store like clockwork, and I try and stay below a certain number. For us, we try and stay below $77.50 a month, which I know sounds like a weird number, but we started at one and kind of played with it a bit until we found one that was strict but also worked for us as a family. So what I do is I actually make a separate little thing to the side just for groceries. So let me show you what this looks like. It makes my life so much easier. So I'm actually going to do it from right here, and I'm going to type in the word grocery. Okay, I'm just going to make a separate little box, and then underneath grocery, I'm going to put what I budget each month for my groceries, and then to the right, I'm going to put what I actually spend on. Okay, and we're just going to make this look nice and neat again. I'm going to merge it, make it go in the center, and then these guys are fine. And then I kind of want to color code everything. You hear my cat. So let's color code it. Let's make it, we're in all colors, aren't we? Let's do this dark magenta. And then I'm going to make the text white. Woohoo! Okay, so there we go. Right over here, you generally have 4 weeks in a month. Cross your fingers. Sometimes it's 5, which is when I go in and manually enter it. So we'll make sure, we'll put in at least 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll put in 5 just to be safe before I do my total, and we'll just leave that one blank. That way, if it's one of those weird months where you actually have that extra week thrown in there, you can accommodate for it. And then underneath that, I'm going to leave a blank spot for what the actual total of that budget is going to be. So we're going to do equal sum, and it's going to be the total of all of these fields. Okay, so that's where the sum's going to be, and I'm going to make sure that is in an account format. There we go. Okay, so every week, like I said, I budget $77.50, so that's exactly what I'm putting in for each week. Okay, and I'm only going to put in 4 because most of the time it's only 4. In fact, on my budget, I think I only have 4 put in there, and then if it's different, I alter it. And I'm going to make sure those are in an accounting format. Here we go. And as you can see, it went ahead and auto-summed that for me and showed how much is supposed to be there. So let me see. And then I'm going to put right here grocery. I'll show you that in a second. Okay. And then right here, I'm going to do an auto sum for what it actually ends up costing, and that's going to be the total of whatever I actually put in here. Okay? And I'm going to make sure those all end up being in that accounting format. Okay, so there we go. All right, so now what I'm going to do is make sure this is in a nice dark color, just like the top, so that they kind of match up. There we go. And that text is white. Okay, so basically what happens is every month or every week I go to the grocery store, I can put in how much I spent. So let's say I spent 75 here, I spent 55 there, 75 here, and so on. Okay, it's going to show me how much money I've spent. What I do is I make my grocery field over here in the actual and in the payment section match it. So let me show you what I mean. I put in an equal sum of all these fields, just like I did for this one over here. So basically, when I put it in over here, it shows me the total here, but it also automatically puts it over here. So I'm not sitting over here putting it in multiple places. It does it for me, and I can keep track of a weekly grocery budget because that's something I put in every week. Okay, it's pretty cool. The other thing I thought of was, for example, I've got one more week right here of grocery shopping, and let's say I went over 1 week. Let's say I did 80 that week. Okay. Right down here I put grocery, and then I think I put grocery, what do I put? Grocery budget, but I'm actually just going to put grocery left. Okay? Because what I'm going to do right here is it's going to show the amount that I have left to spend on groceries to stay within budget, which is super awesome. Let me show you how I do this. So I do an equal sum, just like we have been doing, and I put the field right here, which is what's budgeted. So I'm budgeted for $310, so I click on that one. Then I click that minus sign, and then I click on what I've actually spent right here, okay? And then I click enter. So now in this box, it's going to show me how much left I have available to spend on groceries, okay? So I spent 80 that week, 75 that week, which was under, and 75 that week, which was under, equaling 230, and it's telling me right here, hey, you've got 80 bucks left to be safe and under budget this week. It is so nice because when you get through and you go through each week of budgeting for groceries, it's really nice to be like, oh, I have this much left to spend, and that figure shows up right here. This is also automatically entered right here. It's just so nice. And I actually have that color coded on mine as well. I just think it looks nicer. It's my nice little box. And then I actually color code this as well in the lighter version of that same shade. And there we go. And that's how I do a separate box for groceries. And the great thing is you can do this on a lot of these expenses that you keep track of probably each week, like gas, groceries. You can do it for eating out. You could do it for anything that you know you buy on a weekly basis and just make one of these little side boxes. Another one I do, one of my extra incomes is actually lessons. So I have a box just like this up here just for lessons. And in each section I'll have the student's name, and then I'll have what they're supposed to pay, and then what they actually paid right here. And that, yet again, I have the auto sum for that income put in. And so when they pay me, I put it into the little box I made over here, and it automatically updates my income over on this side. It's awesome. I can see who's paid for their lessons that month. It's easy to keep track of. I always have the amount that they need to pay, and it updates my budget for me. I mean, it's wonderful. In fact, if you want to, I can show you that. I've walked you through my budget for YouTube before, but I will show you really quick what that looks like. But as you can see, this is my real budget, and it's set up just like we did the other one. And you can see here, this is just for lessons. I have my students' names listed right here, how much they were budgeted to pay for lessons that month, and then how much they actually paid. And it just auto sums right here, just like we did with the groceries. So I hope this was helpful, and you guys have a great night. Okay, bye.